All right, welcome everyone. Hello, hello, hello. This is another Conversations on Vitality. James Gardner, of course, the one and only Ariel Jarvis is here. Hello, Ariel.
Hello.
Hello. We are still coming bi-coastal here, east to west, for another week or two, and then we'll be back in same time zone. But how's life treating you out there on the West Coast?
Oh, things are good. And actually, because I'm leaving in 2 weeks, then I'll be switching it up and I will be a day ahead.
True, you're going to the land down under next week.
I am.
Woohoo, Australia. Woohoo.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Shrimp on the bobby. Yeah.
A well-deserved trip, by the way. Well-deserved kind of unplug, vacation, self-love getaway.
Yes. Looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome, gang. Once again, this is our weekly give back to you to share some insights, conversations around health, around wellness, spirituality, everything to perhaps make you or allow you to take a step forward to more optimal health. And that's why we're here each and every week. Today's conversation is going to be around diabetes. So we're going to break diabetes down. We're going to talk type 1, type 2. We're going to talk cause, effect, solutions, diet, nutrition, everything, because it is something that's quite prevalent, as Ariel will discuss. So, Miss Ariel, let's have a conversation on diabetes.
Yeah. So I always want to start off with the how, what, where, and why, right? The body wants to be in a state of homeostasis. And so if we start to abuse certain substances, abusing certain foods, abusing alcohol, medications, not support, or even antibiotics, not supporting the gut microbiome, anything that throws the body's ecosystem out of its homeostasis, which is its balanced state, will be detrimental to all 11 body systems. And so, because your pancreas is such an important role of digestion and such an important role of maintaining healthy glucose levels, whatever you eat gets broken down into an energy source, glucose or ketones. And so if you are consuming foods that are creating an imbalance in your ecosystem, this will throw off your glucose. And this can be really effective to the insulin. Insulin is a hormone requiring protein, which makes up that hormone. And its job is to balance out the glucose levels in the blood. So every time you eat, you're initiating insulin to balance out the glucose levels from the meal you just had. However, a lot of people don't have the proper education and awareness around what they're consuming or what they're drinking. May it be pop, may it be juice, may it be coffee, alcohol, may it be cigarettes, may it be whatever it is. If you're abusing it, then you are really putting pressure on that insulin to go into overdrive and do something it was not meant to do. And eventually that insulin will burn out and you can have something called insulin dysregulation. And anything that's dysregulated needs to be reset. And if you don't reset it, then you can develop something called type 1 or type 2 diabetes. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, I have type 1 and my medical physician has told me that it was genetic. I hate to break it to you, but that is not true. It's not genetic. However, it did come about from an environmental stimulus. So you have 75 trillion cells, and this could have happened when you were becoming a fetus, or when you were being breastfed, or when you were at the age of 5 after the overabuse of antibiotics, or like there's always a catalyst that threw your body out of that state of homeostasis, and it will go to the weakest link first. So that's why I encourage you to, if you do have a diagnosis of type 1, type 2 diabetes, I do encourage you to investigate deeper and don't fall into that victim mode where there's no solution. I want you to take back your health and know that there are solutions out there, but you actually have to look for them. And usually they come in the form of a natural health solution that treats the root cause, not a medication. You can't fight fire with fire.
So we're going to dive into, I want to just talk type 1 versus type 2 in a moment. But first, I want to ask you, because you talked abuse, like, so when we abuse foods, alcohol, sugar, whatever it is, that therefore leads to insulin wear out, burnout, whatever. Uh, what is abuse though? Because truly, abuse can be specific to the individual, right? Based on perhaps their genetic makeup, based on whatever, if it's, for example, if it's alcohol, let's say, one person could have a certain amount that's not considered abuse, but based on the other person's body chemistry, whatever, it is abuse. And so how would you kind of qualify for our audience out there what abuse looks like, grand, just kind of broad stroke?
So, like you said, everyone has a different threshold, right? And so if your body is starting to break down, that's when you need to recognize that you are abusing it. People's bodies have different genetic makeup. Some people detox really well, some people don't. Some people digest really well, absorb really well, some people don't. And so if your body is in a state of constantly being put into a state of fight or flight by whatever you are consuming that is harming you, then if you continue to do that, that's abuse to your body. So therefore, you're abusing a substance. Anything that does harm to the body is abuse. And so I want you to take into consideration, if you hit your partner once, is it abuse? Yeah. If you do it every day, is it abuse? Yeah. So what about when you drink alcohol? Is that abuse to your body? It's not good for your body. It's literally killing your microbiome. What about when you eat the fast food that your body doesn't even recognize as real food? It's not real food. It's synthetic food. Is that abuse to your body? Yeah. So I think understanding the level of abuse and understanding the level of threshold is really important, and where you set your values for yourself, right? Now, are you looking how far you can push the envelope before you can finally get to that point where you break down? That is different for everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. So type 1, type 2. Can you take us through a little bit of a explanation around each of those?
Sure. So type 2 is always diet related, right? You can still come back from it pretty quickly.
Type 2,
Your
you said.
cells,
Type 2? Okay.
Yeah. Type 2 is diet related. That's the one where you can come back pretty quickly if you start to get your diet and your macronutrients and your blood sugar back into check, right? So working with a nutritionist or working with a personal trainer, starting to exercise, drinking water, cutting out the things that you possibly could be abusing, and coming from a nutritional approach. Now, you do not require insulin. Your body still makes insulin, but your glucose and your triglyceride levels are through the roof. Okay. So we need to bring those triglycerides down. You're probably hovering over 6 or 7. So you can go into Life Labs, get your blood work done, take a look at your blood work. If your numbers are over like a 6 or 7, you need to start decreasing your carbohydrates and your sugars and your alcohol, and start implementing more protein, more veggies, and some supplements to get your body back into regulation.
Okay.
Now, type 1 is in insulin dependence. This means that you have burnt out your insulin so much that now when you eat food, you don't produce enough insulin to regulate the glucose that's rushing through your blood. So then you're going to get heart palpitations. You might get dizzy. You might pass out with the absence or with the intake of food. So some type 1 can pass out if they forgot to eat, or pass out if they eat and then they don't take their insulin and now the glucose levels are skyrocketed. So it's there to control your glucose levels. So in order to do that, usually you have either a self-administered insulin injection. So it'll be a little device on your body that will literally poke insulin into your bloodstream with a calculated amount every few hours. It might even do it while you sleep. And this is programmed by your medical doctor. The other thing is old school. You carry an insulin injector, you go into a bathroom and you do it yourself.
Mm-hmm. Now, these two, are these two interconnected, or are they always separate? So, for example, can a type 2 diabetic person move forward into a type 1?
Correct. You can.
Okay.
So type 2 means you still have a very high probability of recovering quickly. But if you ignore it and you don't listen to your medical doctor and you don't seek help, this can turn into type 1 very quickly, depending on your body. And then it takes a lot longer to recover. There are books on this, but you have to do it naturally. I haven't worked with anybody where they've done it Western medicine way, only Eastern medicine. And so when you get to type 1, then you really need to be more disciplined with your protocol.
Makes sense. You have a small margin of error there too, right? Okay, we're on the path, type 2 for a second with diet, because you and I, everything comes back to nutrition and diet. So what are some of the telltale signs, if you will, of maybe somebody going down that path? Maybe they're not yet diagnosed type 2, but they're inching their way down that road. Are there some signs that people can look for?
Yeah. And that's why it can get really confusing if you self-diagnose or you go on Google, because a lot of these symptoms can be associated with other conditions. So brain fog, getting dizzy or weak or fatigued, getting carb crashes. So you eat and then you're exhausted and you need to go lay down. You can't sustain your energy throughout the day. You're constantly going pee. So you're not holding your fluids. You're not hydrating your body. You're constantly having to go pee. You can't regulate your temperature properly. So you're either really, really hot or really, really cold. Your heart can start racing, rapid heartbeat. You don't heal as well. So if you do get a wound or a cut, you don't heal as well or as quickly as you used to. You don't hit your REM sleep cycles properly because your blood sugar is all over the place. High cholesterol, or you have a big beer belly, right? So you might be overweight, but don't let this always be the thing to look for, because some people I've met who are, within the healthy normal range of their body weight that they're supposed to be. So they're not overweight, they're not underweight, and they can be diagnosed with diabetes because they have a pop addiction, or whatever. Yeah. So remember, it's how your body is responding to the nutrition that you're providing it.
Right. That's a good point. It's not always it's not always the obese camp that suffer with this by any stretch. Right. Okay. So we've established the what, the how. Now what can we do? So, let's take us through Vitality Wellness. You've worked with a lot of people that suffer with both 1 and 2. And what do you do to kind of rewire their health?
Well, I talk about their water. Your blood is 92% water. If your cells are dehydrated, they're dysregulated. Your insulin and your glucose needs negative charge water to thrive. So I will literally get them on a water trial, and I will send them articles that are published by medical doctors using our water to treat type 1, type 2 diabetes. We have published articles about this. So I start with education and awareness. Then I take a look at the diet, because your cells turn over every 25 days based on what you eat and drink. I get them on a low glycemic diet. So very low carb, low sugar. So they're consuming a lot of high cruciferous vegetables. They are consuming a lot of protein. So chicken, turkey, eggs, fish, and steak. And they are consuming a lot of green vegetables, no fruit. We make sure that they are not consuming alcohol or, anything that can really affect their triglycerides, which is your sugar levels. We get them to move their body a little bit. So if they can exercise, go on the treadmill and just walk, get your steps in, right? Mm-hmm. Just walk. If you can do more, great, but not everybody can. And if you can't walk because maybe you're in a wheelchair or whatever, use a hot sauna. It forces you to drink water. It detoxes you. I recommend an infrared because it causes your body to release a hormone called dynorphin, which works on regulating your hormones and rapid insulin repair. So that's really good. And making sure that you're hitting your macro targets, because if you're not tracking your food and you don't know when you're eating and how much, you can also create dysregulation. So the power is in your hands, and we give you the tools. We get you to download an app. I go through your macros. You know exactly how many calories, how much protein, fats, and carbs you need. And we make sure that you're eating every 3 hours. You cannot miss meals. You have to be eating every 3 hours. And in your water, I get you to do cinnamon sticks. So you go to your local grocery store, you get those long cinnamon sticks, you throw that in your water, and you drink that all day. That will balance out your blood sugar throughout the day. And I get you to add a little bit of apple cider vinegar after your meal, just a little tablespoon to balance and regulate blood sugar after your meal.
Nice. So time and frequency is a big thing. And is that just because it regulates energy levels and insulin levels every 3 hours? Is that why?
So the reason why is because insulin can only be regulated for 3 hours, and then you have to stimulate it again. So your insulin levels will die off after 3 hours. Your glucose levels will die off after 3 hours. So for a type 2 diabetic, I need you eating protein every 3 hours, but your body can only absorb 30 grams every 3 hours. So that's why it's really important to track what you're eating. And after about 2 to 3 months, you feel like a completely different person.
Wow, it's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And the cinnamon sticks, what's that do again?
So in Ayurvedic medicine and Chinese medicine, cinnamon is actually used to stabilize blood sugar levels. So instead of putting powdered cinnamon, which can really create a mess in your mouth, and if it goes up your nose, it's like you're sneezing. Yeah. So I get them to do the cinnamon stick, which makes your water taste good.
Like that. Look at that. Cool. Good.
Yeah.
And so you've worked with a cross section of clients. Now, in terms of type 1, is it much the same or a slightly different protocol?
It takes us a little longer. So it takes us anywhere from 2 to 4 years to start to get them to a better state. It is a mitochondrial reset. So there's a little bit more in place, especially if they're on certain medications, but we would get them to do the 4 pillars, which is making sure we're getting enough water, the right water, the sleep, the diet, and the exercise. You have to be doing the exercise with it. So we would get them to that state. Usually there's something in their diet that they're not supposed to be having, and they still are. So when we start to really get disciplined, that's when we see some changes.
Mm-hmm. And I think the important thing just to circle back to is that it is possible to reset.
Yes, it's been done. It's been done many times here at Vitality and other clinics. And it's one of those things where I say, don't hear it from me, hear it from somebody that has been a patient of ours who's had a personal story. We have many. So you can go online, look at our testimonials. We have some amazing testimonials. But the formula, it's not that the formula doesn't work. It's that people tend to not become as disciplined. And so that's where having the right practitioner holding your hand and keeping you motivated and inspired to keep going is really what we're about.
Yeah. Good point. Because ultimately, it's the person that falls off a lot. And we do try to remind people of this at Vitality for you, Ariel, that a big part of your success is, yes, of course, it's your knowledge, it's your genius, this is your area of expertise, it's your protocols, it's all of that. And it's because you make an effort to support on a one-to-one basis. You're in the business of relationships, that's a big thing. So, and truthfully, even in the work I do, it's the same. Coaching, people don't do the work. People have to show up, and I try to guide and support them towards X. You do the same.
Yeah,
and that's what we need. So we're not designed to be alone and to do things on our own. We're just not, as human beings, right? We're about community, we're about support, all of that. So whether it's health, building a business, writing a book, whatever it is, find that support and anchor in on that support.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we
Good.
tell you, go into Life Labs and every 6 months, get your blood work done, because we want you to have documented improvements, right? This is really important. And this is also going to encourage your medical practitioner, right? They see enough of this and they start to know that there's evidence to back up what we're saying from Western medicine views. This will become more mainstream, right? And that's our goal, is we want quality of life naturally to become mainstream. Yeah. So some of the supplements that I would recommend for type 2 diabetes would actually be berberine, would be a great replacement for metformin. But obviously working with a practitioner, don't do this by yourself. This is not safe by yourself. Work with someone that's licensed, that has a understanding of herbs and nutrition. And then also introducing turmeric curcumin with black pepper to draw it into the cells to reduce the inflammation of the pancreas and the liver. Introducing GTF chromium. You would take one every morning, which is going to stabilize your blood sugar levels throughout the day. And introducing a really good essential fatty acids, an omega-3. You need all 4 of these if you have type 2. Every single patient gets this protocol if they have type 2. And then we will customize the diet, and then they always get the water. So it's a formula, it works, but it just requires education and awareness.
Sure. And that's why we're here. And that's why we get together every week and just try to create some awareness around different conditions and some solutions to get back their health. Everyone has the right to be healthy and to live a healthier life. So awesome. You're amazing, Ariel, as always. Thank you for this.
Oh, thanks, James. I hope this was helpful.
Yeah, for sure. And again, everyone out there, diabetes, other conditions, just overall health and wellness, reach out, vitalitywellnessw.com, phone up, email, spend some time with Ariel, and you will be better for it.
Yes.
All right. And until then, we'll see you next Monday. Same time, same bat channel, as we say. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you, Ariel. All right.
Bye.
Take care, everyone. Ciao, ciao.